Hey there, honey bunnies. Welcome to episode 68 of your Sovereign Storytellers podcast with your host, Michelle Wolf. Today is if you're not changing, you're dying. And you're dying because resistance is death. I'll have to shorten that up a little bit, I think. Probably just if you're not changing, you're dying. I was thinking today about how living this close to the land for nearly 5 years now. This year will be 5 years of living on my little patch of forest space. And really just noticing how much the land changes almost on a daily basis. I'm out there a lot, and we have a creek that runs along, down through the property, and that creek is always changing. The mountains in North Georgia are shallow soil. They're granite, and so there's not a big deep soil layer for the trees, the ones that are growing on the mountain. So they're always falling. At least once a day, some little tree is falling down. Often they're blocking the road, and fortunately, I haven't needed a chainsaw to get out in a while, but there have been times where somebody had to chainsaw a tree out of the way so we could get out. But the creek especially is always changing. It is radically different today than it was 4 years ago. There's washed out areas. There's a little rickety bridge that crosses the creek where you can go on the other side and hike up the ridge. But that bridge has shifted position from flooding. There's little trees that have fallen down, and sometimes I drag them out of the water if it's creating like a log jam, literally. But the smaller branches and stuff, I just leave there. They eventually wash on down. But I was thinking the other day, maybe yesterday, that it's always changing. And, I don't think the or the creek is complaining about the changing. It's just part of it. It is very, very hard to make a change in your life and make that change sustainable. Exploring using forest Reiki and human design and radical honesty with weight loss lately really has me revisiting my training in the process of change. When you are trained as a social worker and a therapist, a big core component of your education is how do people change? Why do they resist it? How do we motivate them? And my most in-depth studies has been with motivational interviewing. Is that right? I have a terrible headache. I probably should not have done this yet, but motivational interviewing, for some reason that doesn't sound right, and solutions-focused therapy. You can Google both of those. They're very effective in working with addictions and people in trauma, which is what I specialized in several years ago. Motivational interviewing works because it meets people where they are, and it is 100% honest modality for approaching change. Harm reduction is a concept in addiction work where your client knows and you know that they can't quit yet. They're not ready, they're not prepared. And so you work with them to change what can be changed and accept that the drug use is going to continue. Hopefully not forever, but definitely for a while. So let's change what we can change and keep this person alive and as functional as they can be to allow that process of change to continue working. So that might mean providing clean needles. That might mean, if you're an overeater, that you overeat one bite less. If you're a sugar hound, you might eat, maybe if you always are eating let's say if you always eat a dozen Oreos, then you start trying to eat 11 Oreos. and that's it. You still have your 11, or maybe you eat 11 and a half. Sometimes those harm reduction strategies have to be really teeny weeny weeny. And that's okay, because one change, it eases the mind. Often the mind is not going to freak out over one less cookie if you've been working for a few weeks with being honest with yourself and moving food out of the good bad battle of good and evil categories. I made a Facebook post the other day, that's part of why we struggle with our weight, is we are engaged in this moral battle of good and evil over, evil Oreos and good collard greens. Like, vegetables are good and sugar is bad. And as long as we're stuck in that, we're setting ourselves up for failure, because it's like money. Money is just money. We wrap it up in enormous amounts of restrictive stories, but it's numbers and ink on paper, and that's it. It's only representative of exchange. It's a method of exchange, and that's it. Money is not good or bad. Wealthy people are no more statistically good or bad than anybody else. Poor people are not bad people, even though our culture sets them up to look like that. Same with food. Oreos are not bad. They're a food. Vegetables are not inherently good. They're a food. When we practice radical honesty and we catch ourselves feeling bad because we ate a cookie and feeling virtuous because we ate a salad, we can catch ourselves in real childlike thinking. That's like 6-7-year-old thinking. We're following the rules, and following the rules makes us good. And when we break the rules, we're bad, right? We didn't ever get past kindergarten and first grade thinking. For a lot of us, like, we're still way back in time with our thinking processes and thinking concretely in black and white, and this is good and that is bad. And if I follow the rules, the teacher and my parents will be happy with me and all will be well, and blah, 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 blah. When you're wanting to change something, the way you spend money, the way you eat food, and disordered eating does not always show as a weight problem. It shows as crazy thinking. Eating after the family's gone to bed, or eating in your closet, or eating certain foods in your car, but not letting yourself really think about it. Like, eating while you're driving is a way that food addicts really function. A lot of them. It's like, well, if I'm eating it in the car, I can pretend it. I don't have to be fully conscious of it, because, hopefully the majority of your attention is on the road and you're driving, right? So these are uncovering all the ways that we lie to ourselves, how we justify and we speak as helpless victims. We're helpless against our spending habits. We're helpless against these food cravings. I couldn't help myself. I had to eat the whole pizza. I couldn't help myself. It was on sale. I just had to. I have to do this. I have to do that. We have real victim, disempowered language around some of these topics, and then we get frustrated because we can't change. Well, we can't change as long as we're acting like children. We're being a bunch of big babies, me included. Definitely I include myself in this. Well, it was on sale. I had to. I just had to. I couldn't help myself. I don't know what happened. I see this a lot in the buy-sell trade groups. I don't know what happened. It just jumped in my cart and I had to buy it. No, that's really not true. And as long as we talk like children, we feel like children, and we feel victimized by food and money, usually, and other people. I don't generally talk about relationships too much, but food and money are such big topics for everyone. Relationships get way more complicated, and there's such a basket of tangles that I often just don't feel like dealing with that with other people. It's hard enough to deal with that with myself. So if you have relationship problems, I'll try to help you, but just know I'm sure there's probably other coaches out there that have more patience to untangle partnerships and relationship stuff. The problem with relationship stuff is almost 100% of it is on you, and nobody wants to hear that. That's why I don't work with kids and parents either, because a large part of it is on the parents, but the parent doesn't want to hear that. So the river, so the creeks, the trees, the land, nature is always in flux. It's always changing. So many of us need a fallow time, a winter, a downtime, and we don't give it to ourselves. And then we're surprised when we get sick and we're on our, flat on your back for 6 months. Or you develop something extreme and you're required to stop. Our bodies are seasonal. Our human design says this life is the body's life. And the more I live that, the better and better things are getting. It's the body's life. The body is nature-based. All animals go with the flow of the seasons. Animal bodies have a fallow time when the weather is cold and they're not reproducing and they're not creating, they're not putting out energy toward anything other than maintenance. But we don't. We run full speed year round and then our bodies give out. And our relationships suck, and we eat too much, and we spend too much because we really just need to go to bed. Google or go find on Instagram the Nap Ministry. I love that woman. I think she's based out of Atlanta. I'm not sure. But her whole platform is take a fucking nap. Lay down. Stop. Take a break. If we allowed big spans of breaks, we wouldn't struggle so much. When you take time in silence, you catch yourself. You hear your childlike thinking. You see your victim behavior. You notice where you're looking outward and blaming everything around you for your problems or the fact that you don't feel good. But you can't really catch yourself in the act if you're never quiet. If you don't have a practice of listening inward and listening outward to the world, if you're not getting out in nature, if you're not paying attention to the rhythms, even the 24-hour circadian rhythms of your own body, you won't discover how much you lie to yourself, how much you're thinking like a first grader. And I don't say this as a grow up, God damn it. I'm saying it as we're all doing it, and it's time for us to stop lying about it, and it's time for us to build some space into every single day so that we can hear ourselves and we can catch ourselves playing games with ourselves. We can hear it when we are speaking in ways that present our energy as being victimized. I have to get a job. I have to clean the house. Aren't you grateful to have a house that needs cleaning? I am. I'm thinking that the people living under the bridge aren't spending a lot of time cleaning, and some days that sounds kind of good, but the rest of the time it's like, I'm happy to do the dishes. I'm happy to have dishes that need doing. I'm happy to go pick up cat food or to place the order. I have a standing order for cat food because I get joy from those rotten beasties every single day. And they are naughty and they, periodically I want to give them all away, but, I love them and I get pleasure from that. So litter box duty and things like that has never really bothered me. I'm happy that we all have so much food that we have to be careful about eating so much. We are so abundant and so blessed in this country. We can go anywhere, anytime, and get food. Fresh food, good food. Sometimes we choose not so fresh, not so good food, but we have it available. We're drowning in choices, and that might be part of the problem too, but really we still have to stay awake and aware. So the problem comes when we want to make a change, we resist the hell out of it. We don't want to change. Our mind is the one running the don't want to change bit. And every time you lie to yourself and every time you feel victimized by the world or choose to continue to stay unconscious, it takes an enormous amount of energy. It is exhausting and it's killing us. To keep out of your awareness how desperately you need to rest, how desperately you need to put limits on the relationships and the demands in your life, to just refuse to deal with it and hold it back out of your awareness is exhausting. It's draining your life force, it's draining your vitality. That shortens your life. And the land doesn't resist the change. I don't hear the creek being like, no, don't move that rock, or somebody come get this tree. I can't flow because there's a tree. A tree fell in the water. It's blocking me. Somebody come fix it. It's not what happens. I don't think. It doesn't feel like it. I don't hear it. But we do. But when we were little, we didn't resist change before our minds were the way they are. I don't hear toddlers screaming about becoming kindergartners or kindergartners screaming and yelling, desperately trying not to become middle schoolers. Kids just change. They haven't lost that yet. They're changing all the time. They're not tracking every little change. They're not hooked into, but I'm one who's a kindergartner. But I'm not a person who knows how to tie their shoes. I don't want to learn how to tie my shoes. If I have to tie my shoes, how am I going to have contact with my, you hear how ridiculous it is? We're so adorably ridiculous. Change is always happening. Impermanence is the biggest foundational thing of Buddhism. And it's not nihilistic and depressing like sometimes people encountering Buddhism or that kind of existential philosophy think, well, God, that's depressing. Don't attach to anything because it's always changing. But that's not it. The deeper level of that is don't attach to anything. It's always changing, and that's how it's supposed to be. And that's good. You're not meant to be static. You're not meant to always struggle. You're not meant to always like chocolate ice cream. The day may come when your body is like, we don't want ice cream at all anymore. Let's have cake. Or I've always been a pie person and now I'm suddenly wanting cake. I don't like cake. I'm a pie person. Our mind is set up for that. And that's okay. It's normal. But making the effort and committing to a daily practice helps you see where you're resisting change and exhausting yourself. You have to be willing to let go of your concept of who you are and embrace the concept of who you're becoming, who you want to become, or who you just know you're becoming. It's inevitable. You know it. You can feel yourself changing. And so you might as well just dive into it. Going toward the discomfort is often the fastest way out of the discomfort. But you have to have a lot of courage to do that. You have to make the choice. Okay, I feel angsty and all fucked up and angry and all the things, and I'm not going to run away from it into a bag of cookies. I'm going to sit here. I'm going to talk to myself. I'm going to go outside. If I can't go outside, I'm going to learn Force Reiki so I can induce that state in myself and radiate that energy and have it available to me at any moment. I'm going to stay with this pain. I'm going to ask if there's a message here. I'm going to soothe myself with the knowledge that every time I go outside, the landscape is different and I'm part of the landscape. My body is nature. It is made up of the same things as trees and rocks and the other animals. We belong to this planet. our eternal self goes on, but our body is time limited. It belongs to the nature, to the weather, and we don't listen. And the pain of not listening is often what's driving addictive behavior. The pain that your body is in at not being heard and respected drives more your mind to go more and more unconscious. If you can't feel pain and you become aware of pain and you find behaviors that work so that you don't have to be aware of it, it's not like the pain goes away. The pain's still there. You have just taken a mental Advil and you've tuned it out. Or you've learned to smoke too much pot, or you've learned to overeat, because that creates pain in you that's different, that you feel like you can handle, versus free-floating anxiety or, grief or loss or regret are the things that we tend to avoid. Or happiness, if your happiness threshold is pretty low, things are going well, that gets uncomfortable. You can bottom line all of it in that our nervous systems are immature. We checked out at early ages. We didn't learn how to be with scary feelings. Now, when we become conscious, we feel our nervous system reacting and we're aware of it and we're not used to it. We have to grow that part of ourselves into adulthood, into understanding that scary feelings are just energy that we're not used to. It's just unfamiliar. It's not scary. It's not dangerous, obviously. We have to stop letting our inner 7-year-old run the show. When you train in weightlifting, it hurts. But you work through the pain because you want what's on the other side. When you train in completely revamping your eating habits and your exercise habits and your let's not drink too much all the time habits, it hurts. That's the bad news. It hurts. The good news is you are 100% capable of handling it, and it doesn't take very long to get used to being aware of feeling shitty and being okay with it. Sometimes it doesn't need to change. It just needs to be there like a cloud over the sun. You can stay in the awareness that you're the sun. The clouds are just coming and going. Sometimes your light is brighter than others. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. Another analogy I heard the other day was windshield and windshield wipers. The mind is the windshield wiper. It's coming and going. It's up and down. It's back and forth. But we're the windshield. We are just always that, which is eternal. And the nature and the weather and the body stuff is just coming and going, up and down, back and forth. You don't have to do anything with it. Most of the time, you don't have to do anything with it. And acting on the pressure of feeling like you have to do something with it generally gets us in trouble. So, resistance to change is deadly. There's my title. Resistance to change is deadly. It's killing you. It's making you be less than you're here to be. It's keeping you from enjoying the ever-changing beauty of this world, this planet, even our culture. We're in some big-ass change right now, and you can't not know about it. I don't always do this, but one of my teachers deliberately stays up with the news, and every terrible thing she encounters, she sends love and blessings to, and she prays for. I don't always have that strength. Sometimes I have to turn it off, and she does too, but I like that practice of let's go toward it and contribute to solution rather than go toward it and then resist our reaction to it and scream and yell and stomp and snort and complain a lot, So look at where, and then let me tell you this last thing. The message from Team Invisible lately has been consistently declutter. Well, for me personally, it's been set boundaries, bitch. Set some fucking boundaries around here. But for you all and for world in general, is declutter, 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 declutter. And it's not to clean your house. The deeper meaning is to move energy. So much energy in just chaotically ricocheting through the collective. In decluttering and organizing, you're giving order to chaos physically in your individual life, but you are contributing to organization and releasing the things that are ready to go in the collective. So you're doing your individual thing, but you're contributing to the whole planet. Declutter, organize. I love the rule from the minimalist that if you can replace it within an hour and for less than $20, get rid of it. If it's something that you use every 2 or 3 years, give it away or throw it out. You don't need to keep every nail you've ever had, Michelle. You can go to the hardware store and buy more nails. I was trying to think of another example of stuff that I keep that I very rarely use, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, declutter, declutter. So take a look at your life and ask yourself, where is the landscape of my life trying to change? And I am busy, very busy, resisting it, holding it back, deciding that it's not the right time, or I can't do it, or so-and-so is going to be mad at me, or I'm going to piss off the neighbors, or what will my Facebook friends say if I suddenly decide, whatever you're going to do. Where is the river of your life really trying to flow, but you keep throwing logs in it, mental logs that create create pressure and resistance. It takes a lot of strength to hold a log in a river that's trying to push past it. And here's the thing, you're not going to win that war. Speaking of that internal war, you're not going to win it because eventually you're going to wear out, or life is going to snap or break something that forces you to deal with it. Life flows. Life force changes, metamorphosizes, transforms, dissolves. Energy is always in motion. I'm pretty sure that's a thermodynamic law of some kind. Energy is always in motion and it never goes away. It's constantly changing form. So you thinking that you can hold back change, you ain't gonna win it. Might as well flow with it. Might as well look at the pain. Might as well look at your resistance and go, okay, what's trying to happen here? How can I see this differently? What would it take for me to change just one little thing? If there's a log jam in a river, you don't have to move very many of those logs or branches before the water just takes care of it for you. It's the same. It is an exact transferable analogy to your life. Change 1, 2, maybe 3 tiny things and declutter a drawer. Carry a bunch of stuff off to Goodwill and feel how that little thing changes the energy flow in your life. That's why a lot of money programs start you off with decluttering. Declutter your wallet, declutter your car, move and get the energy flowing. And as you do that, if you make this a meditative practice, the information that's available to you will start pouring in. Okay, if you want to dig into this stuff, if you want to join on a weight loss journey, the next one starts March 4th. If you want to get in on learning some forest Reiki, I'll be live teaching that in April, but the recordings are available and they're every bit as good. And there is a Facebook group for you to come and play in that's there for you also if you don't want to wait. What else is going on? Clarity sessions are always available if you want hit and run coaching. There's all kinds of stuff. It's all on the website. Honestly, what I've been encouraging people lately to do is start with a Human Design Foundations reading, because When I dug into human design about a little over a year ago, that's when my life really started breaking loose, because it took all the things that I knew and it showed me where I was in resistance because I was trying to be someone I'm not designed to be. And as soon as I moved those logs out of the river, things have been getting better and better and better and better. For real, y'all. Start with the Human Designs Foundation reading. It's not expensive either. So go to the website, check it out. Think less, feel more. Less hustle, more human design, more naps, less resistance. See what you think, and I'll talk to you later.